OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Bryan Hayes, Doug, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan, big hour. U.S. Open picks. We got to figure that out. What are we thinking here? 5-pack with a couple of Canadians, 6-pack, Tiger.
That's how it always starts. I
Okay.
mean, Phil's not in this, is he?
Phil's
in the
there.
US Open?
Yeah, Phil. Well, he won the U.S. Open like 4 years ago,
Phil or
right?
Tiger, one
Phil's
of the two
never
for you
won
guys?
a U.S. Open.
Oh, you're right. He won the PGA, but that got him exemption, I think, for 5 years, doesn't it? Like he won at the Ocean Course, Kiowa.
Yeah, Kiowa.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like forever ago, man.
Was that during
Forever.
COVID? I think it must have been. That was probably in 20 or 21.
I don't know. There's two different COVIDs. One in the States where there was people at golf tournaments, and then there was. Remember, we had to shake hands. My dad was like with his friends. They had like their putters. They were like tapping putters. It was
the foam around the hole. Remember that? Guys would just mash putts right off the pin.
Can you tell
like,
me what
good.
the foam in the cup did?
Nothing.
I love
Absolutely
going back
nothing.
and looking at some of the stupidity.
Yeah,
I loved it when
Crazy.
people sent me messages saying Ontario is the only place in the world you can't golf.
Literally the only place.
Remember
Yes.
the argument was that Doug Ford was like, "Yeah, guys having a few beers,"
Yeah.
or something like
When
that.
I get
Jamie,
together, my
I
buddies
get
would
it. I get it. And there were some important things to deal with. But
Yeah.
for golfers and people being outdoors, that was the most insane thing ever.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know. I mean,
Agreed.
it was. You can look back on it. There's so many things and so many people that are looking back now and getting mad that Fauci's getting dragged through the mud right now and all of that type of stuff. But you're right. You just reminded me. I don't golf, but I remember we had on our show.
Couldn't
we were
touch the
talking,
flag sticks. You
couldn't-
couldn't remember. You couldn't pull the flag out. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Couldn't rake
closed
the
golf
bunker.
courses. It's outside.
breaking
Like,
the
it's
bunkers.
outside.
Remember that? You couldn't break the bunkers.
None of it.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Ridiculous.
Anyway, Darren Dreger coming up here in a moment. Insider Trading, I guess, is up online and on SportsCenter. And Pierre LeBrun reporting that Patrik Laine would like a trade out of
Oh,
Columbus.
get serious, man. How
And-
many you want?
What a shock. The Blue Jackets are willing to help him out. Who's taking Laine? Like, who is taking Patrik Laine right
I think
now?
it's got to get to a point with him where his contract runs out and he starts over.
Right.
Like you take a flyer on him because the talent is there. But I mean, obviously, I think he got shut down for mental health. Was that, I believe that was what the last situation
That happened this
was?
year, yeah.
Right. So, before that, injuries, inconsistencies, all of that type of stuff. And he was making 7, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Like something with a
7
7
and
in
a
it.
half.
Like you're not going to take that. What you need to do is his contract runs out, and if he's feeling good and healthy and all of that, you could take a flyer on a guy who scored 40 once. Like what it
I
was.
wouldn't
is-
even. I
Long
would rip
time
up the
ago.
email if it came across my desk. Wouldn't even come close to touching
No,
it.
I'm not sure who's taking a flyer on him. I really, really don't because I'm trying to find him right now. I guess where is his contract?
Well, I mean,
He's making
if you could.
$8.7 million this
Okay,
year.
so
and
if you
next.
could get, let's just add $2 million. Say if somebody, that's the start over contract. If Patrik Laine was available for $2 million, you'd have to look at that.
On a one-year deal, sure.
Yes.
On a one-year deal. But
Yes.
it's this year and next at 8.7. That means even if Columbus eats half of that, you're paying 4.35. I'm
Yeah,
not
that's-
paying 4.35 for 2 years on Patrik Laine. I don't think you can do it.
He has proven, and I understand, and that he's been through some difficult things. But his
Right.
play on the ice the last 3 or 4 years, Noodles, when we played, we would always say this about certain guys. They love everything about the game except the game itself. They
Yeah.
love the money. They love the suits, the stupid glasses, all of the nonsense, the video games. And he doesn't like going out there and working his ass off and being one of the best goal scorers in the world, which is what he should be. I thought this guy was going to be the next Ovechkin. And he loves everything that comes with the game, loves the money, loves everything else, but he doesn't like working. He doesn't like playing. I wouldn't touch it. No way.
There are certain guys that are just really good at hockey but don't love hockey. I don't know if he's at that spot right now in his career. Seems like it. You hope he's all right. But getting back to, let's just look at the business side of it, not the personal side, because we all admitted and acknowledged he's going through a tough time. But just look at it from a business standpoint. What did you say, Hayes? 8.7 times 2?
Yeah, 8.7 times 2.
That's what says it all right there. So
no, exactly. It's too
can't
much.
Take that flyer. Yeah,
you can't do it. So I'm not surprised Columbus is cool with trying to work that out. But I don't know what that market's going to look like. Here's Darren Dreger, a TSN Hockey Insider. We're just talking about LeBrun's report in Insider Trading on Patrik Laine in Columbus, trying to work out a deal. I mean, he's got 8.7 per for this year and next. How could there possibly be a market for him?
Well, and that's, I think, the reason why it's getting public at this point, to be fair, Brian, is the Columbus Blue Jackets and Patrik Laine in his camp, more his camp, I think, than anything, are just trying to get it out there and see whether or not there is a market. It's going to be a challenge. I mean, there's injury issue there that Laine is dealing with. As we know, he's in the program and hopefully coming out of that in the near future. But then on top of that, you've got the remaining contract and at least a veil of uncertainty. So maybe this is just part of that process to, for Donnie Waddell to just find out if there is a market. I think it's going to be a challenge at this stage.
Darren, how does Columbus put a stop to this where it's like, how much can you take? Like, there's one after the other, and now you got a guy, the way that this guy's performed in the last 3 or 4 years, and he has the stones to say, I want to trade, that's insane. Like, when does it stop? Like, you can't continue to run an organization with guys doing this.
Yeah, it's a challenge. There's no doubt about that. And maybe it stops with Donnie Waddell. It might. Like, with all due respect to Jarmo Kekalainen, I mean, Jarmo stepped up to the plate a number of different times and tried to take a big swing with the Louisville, and it didn't work. Like, it went the opposite way. So they do need some stability there. There's no doubt. But I also, beyond Laine and the roster, I think there's more change coming there. I haven't heard Don Waddell come out and give a vote of confidence to Pascal Vincent, who's the head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. So could there be more change there? I don't know. I just, number one, you hope the best for the player in Patrik Laine, that he successfully comes out of the program, that he's healthy to be the player that many thought he could be. And, that's a goal scorer, among other things. But, if he feels that he has leverage, and to execute some form of change, I agree with you. That would be a challenge, and it'll probably stop in the near future with Waddell at the helm.
Yeah, it is. It is really weird. We'll have to track that, but I just don't know if there's a marketplace for him, Dregs. But
no.
You're in Edmonton. You attended media day, or half of the media day, because the Florida Panthers didn't make. What did you from Edmonton's side? What did you make of it, and what was the message coming out of there?
Well, as you'd expect, it was very positive, right? Like, the Oilers just believe they're going to win Game 3 and they're going to extend this series. They're not going to just dip off into a 4-game sweep here. It was impressive. I'm not going to lie. Maybe it's because I haven't been on the road for a while, so it was just kind of nice to be in a building again. So I was an easy target. But no, the Oilers dressing room was essentially wide open. All the primary targets were in there. Like, I'm not kidding. I think Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Zach Hyman did 25 interviews in their stalls. And every time they'd get up to, kind of grab the laundry bag and get moving, another media member would approach. So it wasn't just one scrum or two. It was like wave after wave after wave, and they stood in there. And that includes Stu Skinner, and go down the list of all the available players. And then we heard from Connor McDavid, whose messaging I thought was very much on point. He talked about how nobody is taking anything for granted here. I mean, it's a dream come true for these players, as you guys know. Well, Noodles and O anyway, to play in the Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, you're slightly ahead of me, but that's fine.
Not far.
But no, like David talked about how there's got to be a balance between feeling loose, being as relaxed as you can be, so you're not twisting into a knot mentally, but then also staying as focused and committed as you need to be to do the things that you need to do to beat a very good Florida Panthers team. So I don't know. I just thought overall the Oilers were rock solid today. Even Chris Otwalk, who doesn't say much of anything, he didn't dodge any of the lineup questions. Like, he talked about Corey Perry likely playing in Game 3. He talked about Darnell Nurse probably playing in Game 3. He talked about Evander Kane dealing with an issue or issues health-wise, and a decision that'll have to be made prior to Game 3 tomorrow. So, yeah, I mean, overall, from a media perspective, you couldn't have asked for anything more from the Oilers today.
We're Darren Dreger, TSN Hockey Insider. So we've been on the air when Insider Trading was posted. So forgive me, Dregs, I have not seen it yet, but I'm looking at the description here, courtesy of TSN Hockey, and I'm seeing one thing. Marner speculation, mostly off base, premature. Can you take us through what that might mean?
Yeah, I'm kind of radioing myself here in all of that. And I will admit, I presented that banner. So it's not like there's an associate producer at TSN who listened to what I said and then crafted the banner. No, I sent that in.
Okay.
And I guess what it is a message to all of us, right? Look, we know Brad Treliving and the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to have conversations, and we know they've had conversations about a lot of different players and what sort of trade value they may have and all of that. That's just part and parcel of what you do as a management group, and that's what Toronto is doing. But we also know that Mitch Marner controls the process because of his no move, no different than John Tavares. And why would it be unreasonable if Marner were to say, no, I've got 1 year remaining on my contract. I'm going to play out my contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then we can have a different conversation if we need to leading up to July 1st, 2025. He's not drawing a line in the sand, and that doesn't prevent Treliving from either putting a big contract extension offer on the table or going to him with a trade scenario. All of those things are probably going to happen. But as we have this conversation amid a whirlwind of speculation from media around the National Hockey League as to what Marner's future might look like, that's where we're at today.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, it's, that seems very reasonable. Yet at the same time, you know where Leaf fans are at, and I think the whole league is that the draft is 2 weeks away and free agency is 3 weeks away. Yeah. There's no timeline on making deals, but there is a timeline on knowing what kind of money you have available. So, where do you think the Leafs are at in terms of that calculation? Like knowing the dollars that are available to them in order to, sign guys, trade guys, or whatever. And, the reality is Marner makes $10.9 million. That's a big chunk.
Right. But you can't manage worrying about what the fan base of the media is saying. And you can't play the game worrying about what the fan base or media is saying. He's under contract, and he negotiated in good faith the protection that he has. Again, not to say that it can't be revisited, and I'm sure that it will. And Brad Treliving, essentially inherited a lot of the problems. So he's going to have to be shrewd in every decision that he makes. We're seeing speculation on goaltending and Larry Brossoit, as Noodles likes to refer to him.
Love Larry.
Yeah, who doesn't love Larry? Everybody loves Larry.
Yeah.
And I mean, aside from there being, and I say this with 100% certainty, there's widespread tampering happening across the National Hockey League right now. I mean, that's just the way it is because of how condensed everything is. You had the NHL Combine, so it's like a job fair for the agents and everybody there with the general managers and whatnot. So you've got all of that speculation. So Toronto has got some significant challenges, as every cap team has. But, aside from the obvious, and we look at Marner's numbers and what he could do and needs to do better in the playoffs, the rest of the league looks at him probably differently than the fan base and maybe some of the media do in Toronto. Mm-hmm. They look at him as being a really, really good player, plain and simple. So, we'll see where it goes. But how would you guys feel if it ended up with a mega contract extension? Would we be okay with that, or would we be up in arms?
What is a mega contract extension? How does it go from we need to shake things up and we've seen some patterns and trends to a mega contract extension? Explain that.
Well, would you rather him walk for free?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're gonna. That's asset management. It's 8 years, $12 million, whatever it is. It's like that. And then if you need to move them, then you got to have a.
How do you do that though?
List.
Like if you're not willing.
So you
to
think by signing him
push
to a
out
mega
now,
contract extension, that's a way to move him? I don't know, man.
It's not
Well,
possible.
but
That can't happen.
The rest of the league looks at him differently. I understand the frustration. It doesn't matter to me if Mitch Marner plays in Toronto or plays,
Me neither.
and anywhere else. It really doesn't matter. And I do agree. It is. It's cap management. But so let's just shift it here for a second. Do we think that if management went to John Tavares and said, hey, by the way, you're going into your final year, you've got a no move. We'd like to move that contract. Are you good with that? What do you think he'd say? No, I'm not good with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the predicament that Tree is in. But that's not the fault of Marner or Tavares. It's not. So they've earned the right to play out their contract. So
that's true, though.
Whatever the hell they want.
100%, Dregs. But this signing an extension is different. That's tree living now.
Yeah.
Like that's a different conversation. Whether or not you're going to force a player to do it, you can't force them to do anything.
Yeah.
And to your point, inside the bubble, they live a different life. They see it differently. The team sees it differently. The league sees it differently. Mitch Marner doesn't have – he's not sitting at Young and Blue or talking to people. He's living his own life. So he is not necessarily going to be uncomfortable the way that's been described as how's he going to live with this, blah, blah, blah. He's living a good life. He's comfortable here. He knows what he's got. He knows who he is. But signing the extension, if it gets to that point, that's a different explanation from the Leafs perspective in terms of how different things can be because you just signed Austin, you just signed Willie, and if you're going to sign Mitch again, that will be difficult to explain.
You're not wrong, but Noodles nailed it. It's asset management. So you guys would be you'd be okay with them just letting him walk at the end of the year, as opposed to, I don't know what an extension would look like, but given his age and what he's produced in the National Hockey, it's not going to be cheap. Mm-hmm. He's not taking half of what he's already earned. I mean, that's
but Darren,
absurd.
My view on it is he can play out his contract. But I've said it since the season ended. It's time to try something different players. And the mega extension you just mentioned would be insanity because that means you're just going back at it for 8 more years with the same 3 guys. And it's like, what are you doing?
I think what I was trying to get at is if you sign him to an extension, there has to be some sort of flexibility in the negotiation. It's a 10-team list. It's not a no-move clause. It's a 10-team list so that you can move the asset at some point.
I know, but what about Damie just spending the $11 million on a different player the next year?
I understand that, but what the argument is you're going to be trying to sign a player like Mitch Marner.
Agreed.
Like I think that's the argument, and it's the chicken or the egg. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to give a different look at it as the point.
And I don't dislike the guy, gentlemen.
No,
I don't dislike him at all. I just think they need to try something different. We've seen the same garbage every year. You can't possibly think that would work. You can't.
The whole point is you wouldn't be trying to re-sign a guy like Marner. You'd be allocating the $11 million to defensemen.
Anything different.
That's the whole point. It's not.
Well,
it's that they've got these skilled forwards, and look at Florida. Look at the way that they operate. Look at the way, the proof is in the pudding in terms of what happens come playoff time. Now maybe the Leafs see it differently, and that's not just Mitch. To clarify, Austin's the same thing. Well, they're all the same. That's never been my point. It's not like Mitch is the guy or the issue. The point is Mitch is up.
That's right.
That's the
point. That's why he's in focus.
Austin and Willie. Exactly.
Right.
He's the one up, so he's kind of the odd man out, which sucks for him. Maybe he won't be. Maybe they don't see it that way. Obviously, we'll find out.
The other thing here too, Brian and guys, is managers and clubs have gotten way more comfortable with allowing players to play out the string, right? I'm not going to put Marner in the category of Steven Stamkos because he's a decorated leader and a winner, right? But even though Stamkos didn't like it going into the season, he's at where he's at. I don't think they're going to let him walk, but, it could happen in Tampa Bay. Look at what's going on in Vegas with Marchessault and some of the other pieces there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Vegas would like to keep their unrestricted free agents, starting with John Marchessault, but they played out the string rather than worry about the fan base or the media hitting them over the head for poor asset management because they let a guy go to free agency without getting anything back in return. Honestly, with higher-end guys like that, sometimes, and maybe this supports your point, that cap space, the availability of that cap space matters more than what you're getting back in return.
There's also dregs, too, closer to home. The Florida Panthers have let Reinhart and Montour play it out. They could win a Stanley Cup and be on a different team 2 weeks from now, flat out with new contracts, right?
To that point, Noodles, they can't sign both those guys. Like if Montour is a $7-8 million guy, where's your value? Is it in an $8 million defenseman? And I happen to like Montour. I think that he's really, really good. Or is it in paying Sam Reinhart, who had a hell of a season, what market value might be, which is too big of a number for the Florida Panthers to consider. So, it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it is. It looks like John Cooper is going to be the man behind the bench for Nations Cup and the Olympic Games. I love that. I mean, he'll handle that spotlight pretty well.
I love Coop in this sense too. We know he's a heck of a coach and deserving of both posts. I think he literally said to them, you know what, I'm in, but I'm not, I'm not going to do the Four Nations and then dip out for the Olympics in 26. Or I'm not going to skip by, the Four Nations in 25 and just do the Olympics. I prefer to do both.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, okay, perfect. And that's what it'll be. So that's why he's doing both.
I like it. That's the right guy. I mean, Cooper, he's going to handle it well. He's a great coach. He'll be a big personality. That's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. All right, Dregs, enjoy yourself out there. We'll do it again soon.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Darren Dreger, our TSN Hockey Insider.
The other thing I wanted to throw in there.
Gear up, boys. It's going to be a wild couple of weeks.
That's why I kept saying I think there's going to be all hell's going to break loose. The other thing, too, is they might be looking at it and saying, we're going to go from a four-headed monster to a three-headed monster in a year anyways, right? Because
Tavares
is going to be gone. And he's not even Tavares is a 60-point guy. He might get 50 points next year, which is – you've gotten full value on a 7-year contract out of a guy who's been, good cap, all of that type of stuff. So they might be looking at it and going, through us 1 year from now, it's going to look different anyways.
Right.
To O's point, you can't keep rolling it back. But it is, on paper, you might roll it back one more year. I don't know why. I'm not making –
No, I hear you. I've been saying that since the – Pasternak scored in overtime. I'll believe it when I see it.
We all knew it wasn't a reality.
I've said it a million times. We all have. We said it when they lost to Columbus, Montreal. It's irrelevant how people react. The Leafs are going to operate the way they're going to operate. And, they're committed to – and I get why they love these players and what they represent in the regular season. It's that the playoff performances have just not been able to get it done. And, again, they might look at it and say – it's because we've run into Boston and Tampa and Florida, and these are the best teams in the league, and that's a reality. But that's also going to be a reality next year and the year after that, and the year after that. And I don't know. I mean, I think the reactions will be different, will be louder.
Well,
yet there's also an understanding with every fan base and every sport that fans are fickle. If you end up winning, they're right back on the bandwagon again.
Well, let me ask you this, because O made a great point. If you're going to build your team, you might build it as to what you're seeing right now against the Florida Panthers, because that might be the team in round one for you next year. So as you know the Leafs right now, and you see how Florida has been so great in this playoffs, I would argue that Matthews, Nylander, Marner would be in the same boat as all of those other players that we pointed to, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
They wouldn't break through on them.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Everybody, the best players in the world haven't broken through, so why would they? So we could put them into that boat. So what would lead you to believe that it would David Kampf and guys like that would push you through? That's really what the question is how far off are you from that team you might face in the next first round here?
But what you're saying, Jamie, is you can't live with them, but you also can't live without them. That's basically what you're saying.
Well, I listen. I'm with you guys.
I mean that premise you just brought up, though, that idea would be, well, if Mitch is gone, then you're looking at David Kampf to get it done. So you're basically that idea. If the Leafs had that, would be, well, we can't win with this guy, but God, we can't win without him either. So we got to keep him. I don't know.
But what Brian's saying is, if Mitch, again, it seems like we're picking on Mitch. Mitch's contract's up. That's the only reason we're talking about it. If Montour is an option because Mitch's money is not there, then maybe it looks different. There might be more balance to your roster if you can formulate it that way with some extra money. But I hear this all the time from people throughout the league going, okay, careful what you wish for. Yeah, you want Mitch Marner gone because you want that money. All you're doing is trying to replace Mitch Marner and what his chemistry with Matthews and what he's able to do. Regular season. Playoffs, it hasn't worked. Obviously, the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah. So and ultimately, that's what we're talking about here. This market starts for playoff success. They've collectively had enough of the regular season success.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what it comes down to. I mean, that's ultimately all that matters here. It's not about 105 points in the regular season and punching your ticket. Great.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to get it done in the playoffs, at the end it just falls flat, and apathy sets in, resentment sets in.
And what you see right now, so if you look at that Leaf roster right now, the team that lost in Game 7, and you see them playing against the Florida Panthers right now, what does that look like?
Yeah. Can't even envision it.
Right, because you know why? They're 6, 7, 8 pieces away, and that's the point.
Yeah.
How do you get those? You need the money to do it.
Flexibility.
And, yes, and asset management, I hear you, but you think Mitch Marner's taken not accepting a no movement clause? No chance. No chance he's walking into a trap, quote unquote, where they sign him and trade him in a year and a half. He's getting, if he signs here, it's Willie's deal. Maybe more money, but it's a full no move, full no trade. So if you're not comfortable with saying, dude, we got to move off you now, why would they be comfortable in a year or two? They're not going to be. So now's your chance to change if you really want to change. And if they don't, then they won't. And guess what? The buildings will be packed and they'll be a really good team. And if they end up winning, then they'll puff their chest out and say, this is why we run and operate this team, and we're believers. And I'm pulling for that. Don't get me wrong. And I'm pulling for all these players to find a way to make it work. Be great. Be an awesome story.
Yeah.
But, it's been 8 years. This is not a year or two. It's 8 years.
Yeah.
And we'll see what they end up doing. All right, U.S. Open picks coming up, courtesy of TaylorMade. Our boy Sandsy coming up as well. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. Mother's Day Sunday, Golf Town has everything a dad could want with the biggest and best assortment of brands and products. Listen to First Up on OverDrive this Friday for your chance to win a $500 Golf Town gift card for your dad, or follow us on Instagram at TSN 1050 for another chance to win. Check out Golf Town's Father's Day gift guide today and find the perfect gift. Visit golftown.com and start shopping now. I would say a great gift would be going to the U.S. Open. That would be a good one. And our boy Steve Sands is down there. Golf Channel, NBC, they're rocking it this week. Sandsy, we're loving everything we're seeing all week from you guys on the Golf Channel. The course looks great. It's going to be hot. You jacked up for the U.S. Open or what?
One of the great weeks of the year in golf, and not just because it's the U.S. Open, but because it reminds me of one of my favorite lines in the history of sports television. When Tommy Gainey, remember Tommy Two Gloves?
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Gainey was leading the RBC Canadian Open at Shaughnessy when I was out in Vancouver. Great golf course all the way on the West Coast, way out there in Vancouver. And he says, coming off the golf course, live on TV, this course is so great. It is so tough. it ought to host a U.S. Open. And then we kind of politely reminded him that we were in Canada. And he's like, oh, yeah, but you know what I meant.
I love it.
Made me laugh.
That's great.
Pinehurst is mint, fellas. Pinehurst is mint. You guys are going to love this week. It's awesome.
Are all the hockey lovers getting together tomorrow night for some puck, or are you guys strictly focused on golf?
Oh, God, what are you kidding me? I can't wait for the puck to drop tomorrow night. We need Edmonton to win that game to make it 2-1, at least make it a series. Same thing with the NBA tonight. You know, we don't need Dallas to lay down and have Boston go up 3-0. We don't want that. We want to extend the sports season to get us to football, not just rely on the Blue Jays and the rest of baseball before football starts.
Yes, we agree with you there. And as guys who do 3 hours a day, we really agree with you there. We really agree.
I bet.
I'm giving you Scottie Scheffler versus the field this week. Who are you taking?
Man, has he reached the Tiger Woods level where it's now him against the field? I guess it has. Oh, man, I will always take the field in that bet, but, oh, man, is it tough to bet against Scottie Scheffler this week. This place is so tailored to him. Although I found something interesting yesterday. I was talking to him. We were walking with him 3 holes, 11, 12, and 13 during the practice round. After he won the Memorial on Sunday, he flew here. Monday morning, he played a practice round. First time he'd ever seen the property. Never been here before. Not as a kid, not as an amateur, not as a fan, which is very rare for someone who's reached all the way to the PGA Tour level, that he's never been to Pinehurst, never seen the place. Usually, that's disconcerting to those guys because you know how specific those guys are. You know how, everything matters to them and their routine, the whole thing. And he's seeing a clean slate. So who knows if that's going to be bad for Scottie, but my goodness, is he playing better golf than anybody else in the world right now.
Sandsy, the U.S. Open, it's the ultimate test, right? It grinds the players. And they always say the best guy comes out of it, whether it be Tiger Woods at Pebble or Tiger Woods anywhere. But everyone's been talking about the greens, how difficult it is, the layout of the course. What is it going to define the best of for the players? Is it like iron play into those greens? Like whoever hits the best iron shots, is that who's going to win? Is it guys who can get up and down on those turtleback greens? Like who is going to win?
It's a great question. It's a second shot golf course for sure. Because the greens, as you said, those turtleback greens, they're big greens, but they're small targets to keep the ball on the green. And where they put some of the hole locations, clearly are going to make it just a little bit more difficult. So I think that the best iron player, best short game guy, now you have to drive the ball well. Obviously, you want to put the ball in the fairway, all that kind of stuff. And you're lie dependent if you're in that fescue with the sand and all that kind of stuff. Because it literally is one step. It's fairway, and then it ends in fescue. There's no rough, really. It's just fairway, and then it stops in fescue. So it's a second-shot golf course. Short game is going to be huge because you are going to see your golf ball trickle off the green a bunch of times. Even though they've hit good shots, it might be just a millimeter away from staying, but then it trickles off. And the chipping and pitching is going to be massive this week, or you could be like Martin Keimer in 2014, the third time the U.S. Open was held here, who putted from off the green every single time, kind of like what we would do when we go out and play golf when we miss greens. So it'll be interesting to see how the guys handle the short game. But by far and away, second shot and around the greens, that's what's going to win this U.S. Open this week.
With Steve Sands, NBC and the Golf Channel, U.S. Open beginning tomorrow up here on TSN. The Tiger Woods, the gratuitous Tiger question, once a month when he's there at the majors. Can he make the cut? Can he make some noise? Where do you stand on Tiger?
We did this at the Masters too, and I just don't think he can do it, guys. The golf course is so hard. You have to be so precise, as we said, and he's rusty. Precision comes with reps. You guys know that through hockey or any other sport you guys play. And that it's very difficult to be precise and in tune with everything in this sport in particular when you're rusty. He hasn't played a lot of golf. He hasn't played any golf as far as this level goes. It's not a bad walk. It's always been a physical thing with Tiger, at least in the last 5-6 years, last 10 years. And it's a flat walk, but it's a sand-based place. You'll see sand everywhere on the golf course. And I don't mean just bunkers. I mean, it's just sand everywhere. So it's a little bit of a slog, a little bit of a quicksand type of feeling. I walked all 18 yesterday, and I'm not in great shape or anything, but I walked all 18 yesterday, and I was like, man, this is not just your regular flat walk. So I would bet he does not make the cut, but I think the cut's probably going to be around 5 over, maybe 6 over, maybe 4 over. So let's say around 5 over.
Mm-hmm.
Can he get it to the house 5 over 36 holes? Whew, I don't know. He is playing early, late, so that's an advantage for him. He doesn't have that quick turnaround late Thursday to early Friday. He's got that long gap between the end of his round tomorrow afternoon, early afternoon, because he's teeing off at 7:24 or something like that, 7:30, and then he's going to play in the afternoon on Friday. So that'll help, but I would probably bet against him making the cut.
Yeah, that's too bad, but I think
Tough.
you're probably on something. Yeah, I think most people feel that way.
Tough.
Yep. Well, Sandsy, we'll leave it there, buddy. We appreciate you doing this. It's going to be a fun week. Enjoy yourself. It looks like it's going to be hot, and we look forward to catching up with you again down the road. Thanks for squeaking us in here. We appreciate it.
Oh, of course, anytime. It's going to be hot and humid, but in the booth, it's always 72 and sunny, man.
Attaboy. That's a veteran. We love it. Say hi to the boys for us. Thanks, Steve.
We'll do. Take care, fellas.
Steve Sands of NBC and the Golf Channel. All right. Well, there you go. He feels the same way we do when it comes to Tiger and the idea of him making a cut. But at this point, that's why you play. We'll see what he's got.
Just think about how difficult that place is with the best players in the world kind of making the cut at 5 or 6 over, and this guy never tees it up.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he is Tiger Woods, but he's
48 years old.
48 years old. Yeah,
he's not a young man. He's not a young man.
He doesn't play. Like he doesn't he's
play.
not in the mix every day. Like it's hard to we've been talking about Evander Kane doesn't skate, just shows up for games. Like that's you can't
out of rhythm.
be at your top. You're out of exactly. Rhythm's the right word. Like golf is so tough, and I don't know. I for some reason my heart wants Tiger to have turn back the clock somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know.
I'll be tracking it. We all will be, and we'll jump back on the bandwagon. He starts, par, birdie, par. It's like here he goes.
If he can have that Jimmy Connors, remember Jimmy Connors at the U.S. Open where he was just doing fist pumps and whistling tennis balls into the crowd? Like that was awesome theater.
Awesome.
And if Tiger Woods could give us one more of those at a venue like a U.S. Open, die for it. Give it to me.
And the thing is, Connors didn't win. I think he lost in the semis.
You're right. But it was still incredible theater watching that guy march to that point.
Yeah, it was incredible.
So you'll take him making the cut.
Make the cut in top 10 it. Be in contention Sunday.
Level of concern, would it be Stevie Caldwell of him making the cut?
Always. Stevie on overdrive, like Stevie on a bender. All right, OverDrive PGA Picks brought to you by TaylorMade. Experience TaylorMade speed with the forgiveness of 10K inertia with the all-new QI10 Max driver, only from TaylorMade. Learn more at TaylorMadeGolf.ca. I think it's only fair. You had him last week. I get him this week. First pick. I'm taking Scheffler. It's that easy. Yeah. Scottie Scheffler, first pick. Go ahead.
I'm going to take Brooks Koepka.
Ooh. Koepka. He loves the Open. He loves tough tracks. I will take my boy Colin Morikawa. He has been sniffing. He was in the final group at the Augusta. He was the final group at the Memorial.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Iron player. He's dialed in right now, Colin Morikawa.
The great Johnny Miller said the fader of a golf ball always will have a great chance to win at a U.S. Open because it never goes sideways. Mm-hmm. You left me Rory McIlroy again.
Oh,
I just don't see Rory winning a major, man. I don't know what it is.
You know what?
Back
I'll take
together
him over.
with his
I'll
wife.
take him as much as I like Morikawa. I'll take Rory over him any day of the week.
Okay, Morikawa's won 2 in the last decade. McIlroy hasn't. I'll take Bryson DeChambeau. Bryson is, he won the Open.
Fascinating.
Well, listen, man, this guy crushes the ball. If he keeps it, look where he was at the PGA. His game seems to be on point. He's good enough to be in contention. Like cream will rise to the top. I'll take Bryson with my third pick. You have the pick at 4.
I'm going to take Max Homa. I think he's due for a major victory. What are you shaking your head at?
He's been quiet, man. I don't know.
I
don't
get
think
it. You got to think outside the box, though.
Yeah? Okay. I'll give you outside the box. I'll take Rick Hovland. Victor Hovland. I think he
for
wants
his
to win a
first
major and leave for live. That's my personal thoughts. I think he's dying.
So?
Yeah, I think he wants to win, get his exemptions, be free to play majors for the next 5 years, and I think he is very motivated. Hovland.
This is a dicey pick because it's difficult to repeat, and I don't know if this guy's got the jam to do it. I'm going to take Wyndham Clark.
Wyndham. Okay,
Wow.
That's great because I thought you were going to take Xander, and I will take him. Xander Scheffler going back-to-back PGA U.S. Open, pulling a Koepka here. Yeah, Wyndham Clark, he's getting huge, like pretty long odds on FanDuel too, man. You can get a pretty good price on Wyndham.
I got two last guys. I'm going to take Sahith Theegala and Jordan Spieth.
Okay, and I'll take, what do I have, one more? I'm taking Keegan Bradley for my boy Scott Vail. I like Keegan a lot this week. And I'll take Ludwig Oberg. Ludwig.
I'm not going to lie,
Ludwig.
your team's way better than mine. Your team dummies my team.
I think we're even. I don't even know if we have the same amount of guys, but
Tiger or Phil? I got Tiger.
okay, he'll take Ty. I'll take Phil. Phil will slap it around. He'll put money on the line. He'll be playing money matches out there. I love Phil this week.
And a Canadian, I'm going to take your boy Nicky Taylor.
Okay,
I think he bounces back at the U.S. Open.
I'll take Adam Hadwin. Also my boy.
There you go.
Adam Hadwin had a great week last week. I think he rolls it over. I like Hadwin this week. All right, OverDrive PGA Picks brought to you by TaylorMade. Experience TaylorMade speed with the forgiveness of 10K inertia with the all-new QI10 Max driver only from TaylorMade. Learn more at TaylorMadeGolf.ca. Picks are in. It's all good. We may add to them tomorrow. Maybe we add to it on Friday. Anything's possible. But as of now, we've locked in who we like. Going to be a great U.S. Open. Can't wait for it. Game 3 of the NBA Finals tonight. We'll tee that up. The Jays lost earlier this afternoon. Game 3 of the Cup Final tomorrow. As far as we know, the Panthers are en route. They're going to make it to Edmonton. They'll be there tonight.
Yeah.
OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Got a few plays for the U.S. Open. Bryson DeChambeau, top 10, paying plus money. Keegan Bradley, top 20, paying plus money, and no hole-in-ones the whole tournament. Pay a little juice on that, minus 135. But these par threes, man, are beasts.
I got to question you on that one. The U.S. Open, they usually set something up like 100 yards where there's lots of little sniffles at holes-in-ones.
You think there's going to be a hole-in-one this week? I don't think so. Not with these greens, man. The way these things are playing.
Side 500?
Sure. Done. There you go.
All right.
Welcome
like
to the
the
party.
rat that I saw yesterday on 17.
That's exactly what you got.
Display.
And I won that one. You should watch what you're getting into here. Today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today. Find thousands of ways to play. Please play responsibly, 18 plus. Physically located in Ontario. Yeah, Duffy's made his way out there. I guess was big timing. Farhan Lalji at Pearson
What
this
happened,
morning.
Noodles, at the airport? Like, Farhan said he just big leagued him.
I
That's
just
an
heard
awful
about it.
comment.
I heard about it because I didn't see. I just saw them on the plane, right, like at the gate. So I didn't. I just saw a buzz on Twitter, and then they doubled down apparently on, was it Scott Thornton, right? Like I don't know who it was. Like,
Well,
there
Scott
was just
Thornton
like,
sent me a message. He goes, I said hello to Duffy and Pierre, and they both blew me off like I was some pigeon. And I'm like, wow, what the hell is going on at the airport?
boy,
It's
just
a
Scotty
man.
Thornton is a giant, like a man rocket, and a respected, great veteran of the NHL, and he was blown off? I texted them
I don't
both. I
know.
said, call him and apologize.
That's disappointing to hear. That's very disappointing.
I don't know. You might have to have Duffy on tomorrow or Friday to defend himself because I don't know what was going on, but it seemed like there was lots of chaos. There was a lot of people flying out here. The plane was full. I didn't see Scott Thornton at all, but I wasn't. I was kind of traveling a couple rows behind Pierre and Duffy, so I was just kind of had my headphones on, wasn't paying attention. But sounds like they were big time and a lot of people. We'll have to have them on and chat about it.
That is disappointing. Jerry West passing away today, the logo himself. Great player, great executive. Like, got to be one of the coolest nicknames ever. The logo. Might be the coolest. Like, you're the logo of the NBA. And I saw a tweet today when he was running the show for the Lakers that within like the span of 10 days, he traded for Kobe and he signed Shaq. Like, what?
Wow.
That's an offseason. Imagine you trade for Kobe Bryant and you sign Shaquille O'Neal within like a week. That's set
impressive.
up a three-peat. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy how good he was, both on the court, off the court. So Jerry West, the great Jerry West, passing away today. And Game 3 of the NBA Finals, Porzingis not going tonight for the Celtics. So
Yeah.
Didn't
Porzingis
he
out.
just wait a long time to come back for one game?
Yeah, he's been banged up a lot. I mean, throughout his career, it seems like he's always banged up.
Always.
But on FanDuel, you're getting plus points for the Boston Celtics. First time, I believe, throughout the playoffs, and only like the fourth time all year. I think Dallas will respond, but it feels like you got to take the points, man. If you get points on Boston, feels like that's the play tonight.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Game 3 tonight in the NBA Finals. Jay's off tomorrow, and then Game 3 of the Cup Final tomorrow night. U.S. Open recaps. It's going to be a fun rest of the week. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, we appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at...
Scottie Thornton, Farhan Lalji, my apologies on behalf of TSN Incorporated. 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.
A couple of whiskies and 5 or 6 beers